Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are checking out a PortalCraft rotation deck. PortalCraft hasn't shifted too much, but some small changes to the basic Maisha lists that seem to be going around, dropping Omen, incorporating things like Maiden of Clouds for some extra AoE damage, and really just cleaning up the deck structure to generate more artifacts, instead of going down more portal-y things with puppets, going more down the artifact route, which I'm honestly a fan of. I don't mind the artifact playstyle, it's usually pretty straightforward, and there are some really nice additions with Dazzling Archer and the Maiden of Clouds as far as good cards to put in the deck. So let's get right into it and take a look. First up, we're going to be playing against a Forest. Usually a pretty okay matchup as far as rotation goes. Forest is definitely a strong deck, but still not quite topping right this second. At least as of this video being made. While definitely a high tier 2 deck, it's not the crowning achievement of all like Haven has been lately. So we can start off with a fairly decent turn, generating a good amount of artifacts and using mechanization. For that purpose is always handy, especially on the first turn, and then being able to pull an artifact initially is always good as well. Especially since I don't have a lot going into turn 2 there, and I don't really want to use Lich, since he's a pretty weak turn 2 play normally, unless you've got something to immediately deal with. Turn 3 Alpha Core though, I always love that setup. It's a great way to generate more artifacts, and it does work well with the Maisha in some situations, but not always in every single one, so getting an early setup is always a good thing. Now we can finally take advantage of a Lich, going to be able to take out the 2-1 pretty effectively. And going face, just trying to chip them down so that my Maisha doesn't have to deal too much damage. I don't want it to be the only chance I have at winning this. I also like to be able to take advantage of stuff like the Alpha Core and use them artifacts to really swarm the board, making Maisha a definitely primary win condition, but not the only win condition. I like to definitely have the options to just full on flood out my opponents repeatedly until they can't take any more. So I decided to go down the Displacer bot route this time, instead of going with Cat Gunner and potentially Zwei. Both could have been good plays. I decided to go for the Displacer so I get the Acceleratium set up for the Maisha, because I felt like that was going to be my best bet. And I can still go for Zwei since we get the extra play points, so it worked out quite nicely in the end. But we have got a reasonably weak hand. We do definitely need to get some draw going, especially since we don't have a good turn 7 setup yet. And Displacer bot's good, but it's not really enough because we do want to take as much of this out as we can. I probably should have went for the Displacer bot and just set up so I could try and take Maisha for lethal next turn, but beggars can't be choosers here. I just kind of went for what I thought could do well. And they are definitely locking me out hard now. We get a chance to use Maiden of Clouds. It's always good. I mean, that definitely weakened their board substantially, so it was worth making that line of play. But a second Miracle of Love, blocking me out again. It's definitely not the situation you want to be stuck in. And we still need something to use this Maisha. The Altar Plane is good, and being able to get in and out of Resonance should be reasonably effective. I did decide to hold onto the Analyzing and go for the Acceleratium setup, since I want to hopefully go for a Maisha Evo if I possibly can next turn. I just need to get lucky with this Analyzing artifact and my potential next draw to see what I can get. And they did do a nice full clear, so we definitely have to be careful. I decided to go for the Bifurcating artifact first, which probably was the wrong move. I should have probably just threw the Analyzing down after going for the potential Maisha maybe, but I was really running out of things I could think to do. And I definitely made the wrong choice there. I shouldn't have tried to push that, although Maisha's going to have full Evo anyway next turn, so I guess it's not as big a deal, but I could have potentially been able to combo a little better. So definitely some misplays and things that I'd like to improve when playing this deck. But overall, the cards themselves are independently strong, which is always a good thing. Especially in PortalCraft. You want to be able to take down as much as you can. So, Maisha, pretty much for free at this point. I mean, no defense for our opponent, no healing. Pretty easy takeout. Giving us way more than we needed to win the game. Definitely maintaining our board was a good option. Next up, playing against a Shadowcraft deck. Shadowcraft is a bit on the strong to mid-strong side, I guess. It's definitely a good tier 2 deck. Probably not on the level of, say, Forest at the moment, but definitely above somewhere around Dragonish. Dragon's still pretty good though. I gotta give it to Dragon. Dragon's got some insane cards. They just feel clunky and slow right now, at least compared to some of the decks that are floating around like Haven, Roach, Shadow that have really good turn 6s as big kind of damage phases, so it's always interesting. So a good chance, I decided to just take whatever I could at this point since we don't have a lot in our hand. Some early plays, as much as possible. Maiden of Clouds unfortunately didn't get to stick on the board, but it's not the end of the world. I could have wiped this out probably if I went for the Mecha Gun, but I can't remember. I probably don't think I have any artifacts in the deck, so Mecha Gun wouldn't have made a difference. And our opponent got a fairly decent go on us here. So we're definitely stuck in a difficult situation. So I decided to just go for what I can. Luckily, setting up for display spot definitely was a good option. So we should be able to get a pretty decent next turn. And set up for our turn 7 play as best we can. Hoping for an early Maisha. Although an early Maisha could slow us down too much, so it's a little bit of a worry. Plus, I can't play Excel yet. So we're definitely pushed into going on the slower side of this. It's not necessarily bad. I decided to hold my puppet as long as I could, just in case. And Necro Family is a really good play from the opponent, actually. That's one that I don't mind seeing come down right now. There's not a lot I can do to super heavily counter it, but we should at least be able to maintain ourselves pretty well next turn with these artifact cards, so I guess it's not the end of the world. And a nice draw into another analyzing was good. And an alpha core, so a good setup for the Maisha play now. I do want to take out the family though, so spending my last artifact was a bit of a risk, but since I can at least set up a single Maisha, getting something out of our deck for next turn should be okay. Not a living dog. Gonna give it some sweet buffing, no doubt. So with the alpha, we can at least bump up our points by 2, so we only lose 1 on the Maisha play. So all we really need to do is manage to get at least a couple of decent artifacts, maybe. Be better if we get some more play point buffing, but actually since we have 1 free, we actually get enough, so it shouldn't be a problem. If I had wanted to go for it. Because the 2 I gained would have took me back to 7. Unfortunately though, when I did check my death count, I was barely had anything up on it, so it wasn't worth going for Hero Purgation there, even if I could play it. I just didn't have enough value. I know I could have done those artifact plays and stuff and then played it all, but it still would have been really low. So I had to drag this out just a little bit longer to hopefully get my play count up. But I couldn't drag it out too far. Since if I risked it for too long, I wasn't going to even be able to play out Maisha, so I just had to take it here. 20 damage, perfect lethal. Obviously, looking back on that, I probably could have pulled off lethal, but still, pretty nice. So there's definitely some nuancy type of plays you want to keep an eye on with this deck. Portal definitely is one of those decks that you can just sleep thinking about. You really want to pay attention to some of your counts, especially destroyed artifacts and stuff like that you're playing. And just getting the Maisha buffed up as much as possible, always important. And try and take the best lines of play as you obviously possibly can. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time guys, see ya.